All that glitters is not gold. It sounds like a simple warning. A proverb whispered to children, a phrase sewn into everyday speech. But what if I told you this line was never meant for children at all? What if it was a code, an ancient trial hidden inside a 400-year-old play, pointing to secrets far older than Shakespeare himself? Picture this: a golden casket gleaming in candlelight, a promise of wealth and beauty. And beside it, a dull box of lead, heavy, lifeless, silent. Which one would you choose? Most reach for the glittering prize. Yet that is the trap. Because behind the shine lies only emptiness, while in the dull weight of lead rests the truth. This phrase, darklings, is not a proverb. It is a curse. A spell cast to remind us that appearances deceive, and that what glitters most often hides the darkest void. So ask yourself, when the boxes are placed before you, what would you choose? The phrase we all know today. All that glitters is not gold first emerged from the stage of Elizabethan England. Shakespeare placed it in the heart of the Merchant of Venice, written more than 4 centuries ago. In that tale, a wealthy heiress is bound by a strange trial. Her suitors must choose between 3 caskets, one of gold, one of silver, and one of lead. The gold casket bears the words, "Who chooseth me shall gain what many men desire." It dazzles it, tempts it blind. The silver promises fairness and fortune, but only the lead, dull and unremarkable, conceals the true reward, the portrait and her hand in marriage. Those who reach for gold drawn by its luster find nothing but ash and mockery. Only the man who dares to choose the plain and heavy lead discovers the truth. And so the line is spoken. All that glisters is not gold. Not merely a proverb, but a riddle, a judgment, a test of the human soul. Yet Shakespeare did not invent this warning. He merely cloaked it in velvet and candlelight, passing down a code already whispered through centuries that what shines brightest may destroy and what seems worthless may save. But was this lesson truly born on the Elizabethan stage? Or does it echo something far older? Echoes that resound in temples. Scriptures and myths from every corner of the world. But was this lesson truly born on the Elizabethan stage? Or does it echo something far older? Echoes that resound in temples. Scriptures and myths from every corner of the world. Travel east to the philosophies of ancient India. There the sages spoke of Maya, the great illusion, the shimmering veil that cloaks reality, making the fleeting appear eternal and the false seem true. In their vision, all that glitters is part of this Maya, a trick of perception that lures the soul away from its path. Just as Shakespeare's golden casket deceives the greedy, so too does the dazzling play of the material world deceive those who cannot see beyond it. In the Upanishads, the seeker is warned what appears as radiant wealth may in truth be bondage. To cling to gold is to bind oneself to the cycle of rebirth. To choose the dull and heavy symbolic of discipline, sacrifice, and truth is the only way to break free. The echo of lead against gold is not only Shakespeare's riddle, but a whisper of Vedic wisdom. Now turn westward to the ancient scriptures of the Bible. In the Gospel, Christ warns of wolves in sheep's clothing, a glittering appearance of innocence, hiding fangs beneath. In the book of Daniel, the great king Nebuchadnezzar dreams of a statue, its head of gold, chest of silver, legs of iron, feet of clay. Magnificent to behold, but fragile at its base, destined to shatter. The prophets understood that glory built upon appearances will fall just as those who reach for the golden casket lose everything. The medieval church preserved the same lesson in its warnings against alchemy. Alchemists pursued the transmutation of lead into gold. But hidden beneath that quest was a deeper mystery that the true work was not to create riches, but to turn the heavy lead of the soul into the incorruptible spirit of truth. The glittering metal was only a symbol. The real treasure lay in transformation. Across Europe in folk tales whispered by firelight, the same riddle reappears. Consider the story of Snow White offered the poisoned apple. Its skin glowed red and tempting a jewel against the dark forest. But beneath that shine waited death.
They say the old forest
Or think of
holds
the wolf in
ancient
sheep's
secrets.
clothing, draped in
Whispers
a harmless
of a
guise,
hidden
yet
path.
hiding hunger. Even in the tales told to children, the warning persists. Trust not the glitter, for it may be the mask of ruin. And beyond Europe, the echo grows louder still. In Buddhist parables, golden statues are filled with dust and decay, reminding monks that form is emptiness. In Arabian tales, palaces gleam with jewels, yet crumble overnight to reveal demons lurking beneath. In Norse sagas, cursed treasures gleam with irresistible brilliance, drawing kings and warriors to slaughter one another for their hollow promise. The phrase we think of as Shakespeare's invention is in truth a thread in a tapestry woven across civilizations. The Hindu mystic, the Hebrew prophet, the European storyteller, the Norse skald, all whisper the same warning: the human heart is easily deceived by light. What glitters blinds us, what is plain endures. So perhaps darklings, when we hear all that glitters is not gold, we are not merely quoting Shakespeare at all. We are echoing a far older memory, carved into scripture and myth, reminding us of a truth that transcends cultures, that the brightest light may cast the darkest shadow. But myths, scriptures, and fairy tales are not the only places where this warning is carved. Science itself and the silent earth beneath our feet preserve the same truth. Consider the glitter of gold, or rather the glitter of its false twin. Across the ages, miners and wanderers have been fooled by pyrite, the so-called fool's gold. Its sharp sparkle and metallic sheen mimic true gold so perfectly that entire fortunes were wasted chasing it. During the gold rushes of the 19th century, desperate seekers filled their sacks with pyrite, believing they had struck wealth, only to watch their dreams crumble to dust in the assay. Here, nature itself becomes the trickster, weaving Shakespeare's line into the very rocks of the earth. All that glitters is not gold. Archaeologists, too, uncover this riddle in the tombs of kings. Step inside the golden burial chambers of Egypt. Walls shimmer with gilded hieroglyphs, masks shine with beaten gold, treasures glimmer in the torchlight. Yet when the sarcophagus is opened, what remains? Not eternal glory, but a body shriveled, decayed, crumbling into ash. The message is carved into every pharaoh's tomb. The gold survives, the flesh perishes. The glitter is not the treasure, it is the mask of mortality. The same lesson haunts the ruins of Mycenae, where Schliemann unearthed the famous mask of Agamemnon. Gleaming with beaten gold, it seemed a relic of the Homeric age. Yet modern analysis revealed it may not even belong to the king it was named for, perhaps not even from the right century. A glittering mask, yes, but one whose truth is murkier than the shine suggests. Even in archaeology, appearances deceive. And psychology, the science of the human mind, confirms what the ancients already knew. Researchers speak of the halo effect, the tendency to judge something or someone based on outward appearance.
Gold survives.
A handsome face is assumed
Flesh
honest.
perishes.
A shiny object is assumed valuable. We are still the suitors before the caskets, reaching for gold because it gleams, dismissing lead because it does not. The brain itself is wired to prefer glitter, even when glitter betrays us. Experiments reveal how easily we are deceived. In one study, participants valued the same object more when it was polished to shine. In another, resumes printed on heavy, high-quality paper were judged more impressive than identical ones on thin sheets. The lesson is haunting our minds are not free of Shakespeare's trap. We are drawn to the glitter, even knowing it may not be gold.
Utterly
Science also teaches us that gold
What
itself
a
is not
sham,
eternal.
Indeed.
Though it resists tarnish, it can be alloyed, adulterated, counterfeited. Ancient merchants learned to bite coins to test their purity. Alchemists sought formulas to reveal imposters. Even the most incorruptible of metals could be imitated, devalued, disguised. The glitter is not always the guarantee. And so from fool's gold in the earth to golden masks in tombs, from the biases of psychology to the tricks of counterfeiters, science and archaeology whisper the same ancient curse: appearances are traps. What shines may blind, what is dull may endure. Perhaps this is why the phrase has lasted 400 years. It is not poetry alone. It is geology, archaeology, psychology, a code written in rock and bone in the very synapses of our minds. But if even science and the soil beneath us agree with Shakespeare's warning, what does that mean for the symbols we cling to? Is gold itself the villain, or only the mirror reflecting our endless hunger for shine? If the sciences confirm the warning, then symbolism gives it a soul. For the ancients, metals were never just metals. They were mirrors of the human spirit, masks for virtues and vices, vessels for truths too dangerous to name outright. Gold, above all, was never only wealth. It symbolized the sun itself, radiant, incorruptible, eternal. To wear gold was to wear light, to claim divine favor. Pharaohs clothed their dead in golden masks, not only to honor them, but to give them the face of the sun god Ra. Kings forged crowns not merely to display riches, but to mimic the halo of heaven. Gold glittered because it was meant to blind, to dazzle, to convince mortals they were gazing upon something eternal. And yet, the same brightness made gold a symbol of temptation. The Greeks spoke of Midas cursed to turn all he touched into gold until even his food and his daughter became lifeless metal. In that story, gold is not treasure, it is hunger, isolation, destruction. The glitter becomes the prison. If gold is the lure, then light itself is the illusion. Across cultures, light has always carried dual meanings. It illuminates truth, yet it also deceives. A torch in the dark reveals a path, but also casts shadows that hide dangers. In medieval alchemy, false light was a symbol of counterfeit wisdom, knowledge that shines but leads astray. In Shakespeare's golden casket, the brightness is not revelation, but camouflage. What glitters is not enlightenment, it is the veil. And then there is lead, dull, heavy, silent lead. Alchemists called it Saturn's metal, slow, oppressive, associated with time, death, and gravity. No suitor would choose it willingly. Yet in the riddle of the casket's lid is the vessel of truth. Its very unattractiveness is its honesty. Lead promises nothing, and so it deceives no one. It is the metal of reality, unpolished, uncomfortable, but enduring. The symbolism is clear. The human soul is always caught between gold and lead, between glitter and weight. One dazzles us, the other anchors us. One flatters, the other humbles. The proverb does not only warn us about false appearances, it reveals a cosmic balance. That which is bright may be hollow, and that which is plain may conceal the treasure of truth. So perhaps the glittering casket and the dull box were never about metals at all. Perhaps they were masks for a deeper choice between desire and discipline, between illusion and reality, between the fleeting shine.
Choose the lead.
And the question lingers, darklings. When the glitter blinds you, will you have the courage to choose the lead? If symbolism revealed the soul of the phrase, then philosophy asks what it means for us now. Because all that glitters is not gold was never only about metals or caskets or plays. It is about us, about the endless hunger that drives human choice. In every age, humanity has been dazzled by glitter. In the courts of kings, it was crowns and jewels. In the temples, it was idols plated with gold leaf. In Shakespeare's day, it was the splendor of Venice, the promise of wealth from distant seas. And today, it is the glow of screens, the curated perfection of social media, the polished masks we wear in public. The glitter has changed form, but its power remains. Philosophers from every tradition have warned us of this trap. Plato described the cave where shadows on the wall appear real to those who never see the sun. Nietzsche spoke of masks and appearances, warning that the herd follows the glittering idol, instead of facing the abyss of truth. Kierkegaard described despair as living a life built on illusions, shiny on the outside, hollow within. And what of us? We live in a world where everything glitters. Advertisements polish desires until they gleam. Politicians cloak themselves in golden promises. Influencers shine with curated beauty, while behind the lens lies exhaustion, emptiness, and despair. Our culture rewards glitter, the loudest voice, the brightest image, the most radiant facade. Yet behind it, as always, truth waits in silence. The proverb is no longer just a phrase, it is a mirror. It asks, how often do we choose the golden casket? How often do we reach for what dazzles rather than what endures? Do we value the weight of lead, the unglamorous labor, the slow discipline, the heavy truths? Or do we flee from them, dazzled by what sparkles? In this way, the warning is less about deception from others and more about deception of the self. For the greatest danger is not that someone else hides gold with glitter, but that we fool ourselves. We want the shine so we convince ourselves it is real. We want the promise so we ignore the weight of the lead. And in doing so, we fall into the oldest trap of all. So perhaps this is why the phrase has endured for 4 centuries. Why it still whispers across cultures, scriptures, sciences. Because it points not outward, but inward. It is not about treasure boxes
It is
or golden
complete.
apples.
My
It is about the human
golden
heart,
treasure.
forever torn between shine and substance. The question then becomes unavoidable. Darklings in a world built to glitter, where nothing is as it seems. How do we learn to see the gold that does not shine? How do we train ourselves to recognize truth when it is heavy, dull, and hidden? So perhaps darklings, the phrase "all that glitters is not gold," was never a proverb at all. It was a trial, a curse, a mirror held to our eyes for 400 years and longer still. It warns us that every treasure may be a trap, every light may cast a shadow, every glittering promise may rot in silence. But this warning is not unique. Across time, other words carved into story and scripture hide the same secret. Phrases you whisper without thought, idioms you think are harmless, yet each carries the weight of forgotten trials and ancient truths. And one of them is darker still. A phrase that has haunted kings and empires, a warning written not in gold,
A silent
fire and
promise.
blood. So ask yourself if all that
Subtly
glitters is not
broken.
gold, hides a 400-year-old secret. What other sayings do we speak without knowing the shadows they carry? Perhaps the next phrase you hear is not just a saying. Perhaps it is a spell.